Okay, what we're working on today is refurbishing an old screwdriver. This is a Stanley number 20 Herwood, is marked on the ferrule there. Made in Canada. It's probably from the 30s or 40s. Great piece. It's in tough shape. The handle's been split in a couple spots and you know, missing a bunch of the wood there. So the first thing we did is drive that ferrule pin out, and that allowed this to slide down, and then we slid the handle down to where we've got some room to work with. Now we'll cut this off with a hacksaw, leaving ourselves enough room to weld this back on, and then we can slip the handle off. So we got the handle off. I'm glad we were able to keep that intact so we can use it as a gauge for building the new handle. So we've got an old or a piece of hickory off of a splitting maul that had broken. The head had broken on it or broken off, so we replaced it with a new handle. But this handle would be great. It's about the same diameter as our old handle here, and it's solid. We'd be able to bore through the center of it, and it's stable. And so I think that's what we're going to use to make this new handle. So ideally we would chuck this into a wood lathe and turn it down to, you know, the exact dimensions that we want. Not having a wood lathe here in the once shop, we're going to do it the hard way. Just a belt sander and lots of handwork. Okay, well, I think we're going to drill our hole in this first before we get too far on shaping it, just so we can adjust the shape to the hole we got there in case we're off center. I'm sure there's a jig or something we could rig up to make sure that we're putting a nice centered hole in this, but you know, me being lazy and wanting to do a lot more than just this in the next few hours, we're just going to hold it and be careful not to let it get off of center and obviously gouge our hands. So we've got a hole bored all the way through it, and approximately the same size as our original piece. I cut it a bit longer just so when I make mistakes I've got some room to play. So we're going to start shaping this down then by hand and making our handle. Okay, so we've almost got the handle roughed out here, and we'll start sanding with hand sandpaper. One of the things I did was make it a little bit longer, just fit my hand a little better, but a little bit narrower. It was pretty fat for my hands, and also in the end, on the original piece, they had the shaft inset. But that's part of the reason probably why it's split out, because you end up beating on screwdrivers, especially big screwdrivers like this. This one's a 17-inch long screwdriver, and with that, the shaft inset like that, and you start beating on that, chances are you're going to miss a blow and catch the handle. So I'm going to be using, well, to start out I'll probably use about 150 grit here, and a little a handy way to make a good hand pad is take your full length sandpaper, fold it in half on the long way. Put a good crease in it. And then rip that in half. Put the other side aside. Fold it in half again. And then rip it down halfway. Then fold one half of that half inside itself. So the paper is going to the paper, not the sand part of the paper going to the sand. Fold it in half again, and then fold it in a fourth. That gives you 1, 2, and then open it up. 3, 4 sanding surfaces without the sandpaper coming in contact with each other. Okay, so we got the handle pretty much where we want it as far as smoothness and shape, and it fits my hand really well. Now we're going to work on we're going to sand down or file down the tip. It's been, you know, worked before and it's out of shape. We're going to take a little bit of black stain, and this is just wood stain, and put it on the handle. And when we wipe that off, it's gonna bring the grains out and give it some protection. So I think that'll look pretty good. Okay, so we've treated the handle. We've treated the steel with Floetrol. It's actually made to allow paint to move through a sprayer easier, but it works great on steel to seal it up and to keep it from rusting and actually keep its current kind of rusty condition. So I think it'll look pretty good. So now we've pushed the handle back onto the shaft, and we're going to go weld up the top and then put it all back together. Okay, so we have the tip weld back on again. Now we're going to sand her down smooth so that the handle will fit back up. Okay, we got her sanded down. That handle should fit right back on there. And we need to drive the knurl back on there and then put a new pin in it, and I think we're done. It'll be a nice piece for the toolbox again, and we'll have a story and a remembrance all just after work today, making a tool back to its original condition.